right at 7 o'clock, so we'll get started. So welcome everyone. My name is Misato. My pronouns are she, her, and welcome to my panel, The Hot Tea on Handsfree Gaming. So just some disclaimers before we get started. Everything in this presentation are my personal experiences and opinions, and therefore are not to be taken as facts, and I'm not sponsored by any companies, manufacturers, creators, or organizations mentioned. I also want to add that everyone's situation is different. Accessibility is definitely not a one-size-fits-all, so there'll be some time at the end of the panel for people to share their own experiences with gaming with a disability, or to ask questions about ways that games could be more accessible. Also, nothing in this panel is medical advice. Please talk to a doctor first before making decisions regarding your health and or engaging in a new activity that may affect your health. If you're feeling pain or sickness from an activity, please stop and speak with a doctor. If you're experiencing a medical emergency, please call 911. And if you're experiencing a psychiatric emergency, please call 911 or 988. For information regarding medical, mental health, and accessibility services in your area, please contact your insurance company, 211, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So just a little bit about me. I've been playing games since 1999. I love cute, cheesy, and happy video games. So things like Animal Crossing, Street Fighter, Pokemon, House of the Dead, those kind of things. And sometimes I dress up like video game characters. So the physical limitations that I have that affect my ability to use a standard game controller is that I have carpal tunnel in both my wrists. This causes moderate pain in my hands and wrists when using fine motor skills. So fine motor skills are like little movements, like writing, typing, using your phone, and using a standard video game controller. And I also get motion sickness from playing open world games with large open spaces. So first I want to talk a little bit about why accessibility in gaming is important, though I understand that I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are watching a panel about it, so you obviously think it's important. But the most important thing is that everyone deserves the self-care and social benefits of gaming. End, stop, period. That is the most important thing. And I also want to add that all able-bodied people are temporarily abled. I wish long and healthy lives to everyone. And if we want to have Smash Brothers tournaments in the nursing home, we need to talk about this now. And also too, accessibility features can help able-bodied people as well. An example that I'll make is, so I don't have any visual disabilities to my knowledge, but it was kind of annoying playing Tekken 6 on a really small CRT TV when the subtitles were really, really small and I couldn't read them, and you had no option to make them bigger. So, if Tekken were to add that feature, not only would it be good for folks who may have visual disabilities, but could be helpful for people with small TV screens. And, also too, on that same note, now we're talking about like the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch, handheld gaming is becoming more and more of a thing. So these are things we got to think about. And also too, better accessibility increases consumer base. I'm not going to buy a game if I can't play it. So if your game is more accessible to more people, then more people can buy your game, and that's more money. So first I'm going to talk about some accessible gaming controllers. So this is really exciting. For the first time ever, the big three all have first-party adaptive controllers. This is so cool. So we have our newest comer with the PlayStation Access controller, and we have the OG Xbox Adaptive Controller, which is what I use personally, and Nintendo has the Hori Flex controller. And something I want to add is that you may only need to choose one of these, thanks to adapters. So these help a controller intended for one console to work on another. I actually have an example here. So this is a Wii controller, and I make it work on Nintendo 64 so I can play Pokemon Puzzle League using an adapter. So it goes in here, and you get the gist. So some of them are plug and play, such as that one, and others require updates on a PC. They're usually about $20 to $60. Something to keep in mind is if you're going from Xbox to Nintendo and vice versa, the A and B buttons are going to be switched and the X and Y buttons are going to be switched. And if you guys were at my panel last year, this was a complaint of mine, but it's actually been addressed. We finally have one for PlayStation 5. Though on the Brook website, it's a Brook adapter, it says that it's only tested for fighting games. So if anyone's used one for their PS5 and if they know if it works on other games too, let me know, because I would love to be able to play a PS5. So first we're going to talk about the one that I use personally, the Xbox Adaptive Controller. This was the first one to come out. And here I got it right here. It works natively for Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. It's customizable to what you need. So on the back here, there is ports. Is it 3.5 millimeter aux ports for each button on the controller, and there's also USB ports on the sides for the right and left joysticks. And there's a big button on the front, A button, B button, D-pad, start and select. And what you can do is, I have an example of a button right here. Suppose I wanted this button to be my A button. You just plug it in here, and then I can place this button wherever I need. And it works with many different first-party and third-party peripherals. It's very well stocked. When I first became disabled, I was just able to order it right off the Xbox website, and it came right away. What's also great is that there's a co-pilot mode on Xbox One and the Series consoles. So that allows two controllers to work as one. So this has a couple of different uses. Whether you yourself, like your setup could be, I need a regular controller over here, and I need to use the adaptive controller over here, and those two controllers can work as one. Or if you're someone who may need assistance playing a game from a friend or family member, you guys could work together using one controller. And this one probably wasn't intended, but this is what I use it for, is if I'm at a party and I'm with people who aren't using adaptive controllers, and we want to pass the controller around for Street Fighter, I can just set my controller and a standard controller to be one controller, so no one has to use my setup. And another cool thing is that when designing this controller, they consulted with disability and veterans organizations. I always say nothing about us without us, so I'm glad that they talked with people who, this controller is for. And it comes in accessible packaging right down to the box it was shipped in. When I got mine in the mail, I didn't have tape, or I didn't need to get a knife or anything. I could just pull a tab, and the box opened. And the box that this comes in, it's Velcro to open up. No tape, no need for long nails or anything. And just this central hub, no buttons included, is $100. So I have a little video demonstrating it in action. So we'll watch that. So here's a little tutorial on how to use the Xbox Adaptive Controller to play Street Fighter with one hand, because I went to surgery today, cannot use this hand. So here I have my joystick in my lap that's plugged into the adaptive controller over there. And I also have the buttons that I need to play Street Fighter all plugged into the controller. So, using the joystick, I can move around, and then by pressing the buttons with my feet, I can play the game. So next I'll talk a little bit about Nintendo's version of this, the Hori Flex controller. It works on Switch and PC. This controller, very similar to the Xbox Adaptive Controller. It's got, as you can see, it's got the ports on the side for each of the buttons, and has the USB ports on the side. Only this one has some more buttons on the top, so if that's something that you're looking for in your controller, this might be a cool option. And this controller was designed by a company that specializes in technology for people with disabilities. Here's the part where I get a little bit sassy and kind of spill the tea. Just the hub, no peripherals, for the Nintendo one is $250 to $280. So that's more than twice what this costs. And the other thing I wanted to add too is that I'm sure you guys have probably heard about those controversial rules that Nintendo put out regarding their tournaments. They say you have to use first-party controllers, and yes, that's what the Hori Flex is, but it doesn't make an exception for third-party peripherals. And we would want everyone to be able to play in tournaments, so I was a little bit disappointed when I heard that. And so here's some tea on the both of them. One, I need external peripherals to complete the controller. So, that's an extra expense. You need to look to find ones that are a good fit for you. And also too, there are so many wires. The long wires on at least the buttons that I have are both a blessing and a curse. The blessing being is that you can place these buttons anywhere, but also at the end of the day, they do become a tangled mess when you've spent hours in a video game. And so just a little bit of extra tea to the photo on the left. That was my setup for playing Hi-Fi Rush in the one-button rhythm mode. So if we have any Tango GameWorks employees, I would like to talk to you about that. So let's talk about the newcomer, the PlayStation Access Controller. So they also consulted with disability and veterans organizations. Very cool. And this one includes swappable components to customize the controller buttons. So it comes right there in the box, so you don't have to go out and buy some extra stuff. And what's nice is you can also change the orientation of the controller. So if you want the joystick on the bottom, like in this picture, if you want them on the sides, on the top, that can all be changed. What's nice is you can do co-pilot with another access controller, or an access controller and a standard controller. So, we love to see those options out there. And from what I've seen online, from reviews of it, this also comes in accessible packaging. So I can't speak to the box that it's shipped in, but at least the box that the controller is in is also accessible. Everything's you can pick up the objects using tabs. And so just for the one controller, the picture on the screen, that's $90. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if I'm breaking protocol by asking.
Oh, yeah, no.
Are any of these available where you could just go to a GameStop or a regular store and just buy them off the shelf as well?
Matters the retailer. I personally haven't ever seen any of these in a store, but the Xbox adaptive controller I've seen both on Xbox's website, and I've seen it on Target. I've seen it on sale at Target. I don't know if it's still on sale. In terms of the Hori Flex, I've only seen it on the Able Gamers website for sale, and actually in stock on the Hori website itself. I've never seen it in stock on the Hori website itself, but I don't know, maybe they've changed that. As for the access controller, I would assume you could probably just buy it off of the PlayStation website, but I haven't tried to buy it myself.
Both Xbox and PlayStation can be bought at Best Buy.
Oh, Best Buy. Oh, nice.
Because I just thought if the box itself is accessible and you can go to like Best Buy and just buy it, that might be the easiest option for some individuals.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about the shipping and you've got it right there.
Yeah, for sure. And yes, sir, in the back.
Anecdotally, I was just going to say, I just bought 2 of the access controllers at Best Buy.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, sir. Oh, and also, I'm sorry, I should be repeating this stuff into the microphone. He just said that he bought the access controller at Best Buy. And so here's my T on it. It must be set up using PlayStation 5 software. So this is going to be something that's either a blessing or a curse, depending on your needs. What I like about the Xbox version is that it's just plug and play, ready to go. I don't have to like get into any software or anything. But some people may like that, like being able to just set up where the buttons go using the program itself. And also, too, you must buy 2 controllers to get all the buttons. So this is also going to be a blessing or a curse. Now, for the Xbox adaptive controller and for the Hori Flex, all the buttons are there, ready for you to put the peripherals in. But if you need that in terms of your PlayStation access controller, you got to buy 2 of them, and that's $180. But if you're a person who just needs that standard controller that came with the console itself and just 1 access controller, you could be saving a few bucks. And also, too, to set up a brand new PS5. You need to use a standard PlayStation 5 controller. So this made me a bit upset because as someone who it hurts a lot to use a regular controller. For my Xbox, I have an Xbox Series. Because I already had the the adaptive controller when it came out. I haven't even touched the regular controller it came with. I could just set it up with that. But people like to do things themselves. So if you're a person who needs the access controller, this is like a huge barrier. And also too, and this is actually why I don't want it for myself, is that it only has 4 3.5 millimeter aux ports to put in additional peripherals. So if you saw the video that I showed previously, when I need to tap buttons on the floor, that's not enough for all my buttons, or like that Hi-Fi Rush setup that I just showed. So just something to think about. And also has no USB ports. I forgot to add that. And a lot of joysticks use a USB, but there are ones out there that don't. And this is kind of the one that makes me the most sad. Is there's been reported issues with having it work on the PC and other consoles using an adapter. So, we like for, controllers to work across consoles. So, like the Xbox version, I can use an adapter to make it work on my Switch. But I know that that's not going to work for for everyone. And, if someone sees this access controller, like, hey, this is what I've been looking for, this is like the only way I can play video games, I would want that person to be able to play Mario, Pokemon, or Hi-Fi Rush. So let's talk about these peripherals I've been gabbing on about. So here's the major T, and I'm sorry that the text is so small, but I'll read some of them. This is right off the Xbox website. these peripherals are really, like some of these are really, really expensive. And I'm going to talk about some more affordable options. But like if you look at the joystick that's kind of in the middle of the screen, it's $310 for a joystick. You need 2 of them. And I also want to talk about like the some of these buttons here, like just one button. Now I've been told that these buttons are like the size of dinner plates, but it's still one button, $75. There's a lot of buttons on a controller. You know, obviously we want people to be paid appropriately for their work, and we want things to be affordable, so I hope that there can be a balance found so gaming can be more accessible to everyone. So I'm going to talk about something that I use personally, which is the Logitech adaptive gaming kit for the Xbox Adaptive Controller. It's a pack of 7 buttons, comes in various sizes. Those buttons come in various sizes. Comes with 2 Velcro boards. This is one of them. The other one's like a little bit, you can bend it. So if that's something you need, that's kind of cool. And comes with Velcro stickers to put on the back of the buttons. Mine have the Velcro stickers. And you can have stickers to decorate the controllers too, like the picture there. I don't decorate mine because I change the orientation a lot. So just show how it works. You know, board, button, and then you, like as I showed earlier, you know, you plug it into whatever port you need on the back. You know, we talked about that blessing and the curse with the long cords. So one way that I've seen them be used is like someone had a setup for their wheelchair, and they put one of the like buttons so they could just tap it lightly with their head. So that's one of like the benefit of the long cords there. This was also well stocked when I first became disabled. I just ordered it and it showed up. The packaging was also accessible. And the box it came in wasn't accessible. I had to get a knife for that, but the box that it came in, you can open it with Velcro. And actually, I still use that box to this day to store all the stuff that it came with. And this whole button pack itself is $100, so a much better deal than $75 a button. And the cool part is that these peripherals, I've heard, work on the PlayStation Access controller. So here's my tea on these cheap buttons. They don't respond well to button mashing, and I'm so sorry to keep bringing up Hi-Fi Rush. I absolutely love this game, and the one-button rhythm mode was very helpful. However, with these Logitech buttons, it was really, really annoying because they aren't particularly good quality, like in terms of the fact that they just keep getting stuck if you press them a lot. So what I ended up doing was, because it's like for jump, I have A. I mapped the one button rhythm to the B button on here, because these are really good quality. But the problem is that even in the one button mode, the parry is a different button. And if anyone's played the game, Corsica's level is like almost all parrying. Oh my gosh, it was so annoying because it kept getting stuck. And then the other thing too is the cords, since they're really thin, if you have a lot of buttons on your board, you get caught underneath the button and then you lose the input that way. Like with that Street Fighter setup that I just showed you, that happens all the time. So maybe a solution for that is to make the cords thicker. So yeah, I don't know if any Logitech employees are in the audience.
If you have an issue, you can buy those bunny-proof cord wraps.
Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. That's a good idea. She just mentioned the bunny. Is it bunny wraps that you put on the cords?
It's like to prevent bunny chewing on cord, but
Oh.
they also make it cord thick.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so it's to prevent your bunnies from eating your wires, but could also, prevent you from losing your inputs. So 2 in 1. So this one I don't have with me right now, but this is the Hyper Kin Trooper 2. It works as a control stick on the Xbox Adaptive Controller for console gaming. It also advertises as working on PC, Mac, and Raspberry Pi. It's about $22, so pretty cheap. And the stock was really good. I just got mine off of eBay. Here's the T. It's not particularly accurate. Wouldn't suggest it for anything fast-paced. I use it for Slime Rancher. And also, sometimes it doesn't work when using a Brook adapter to make the Xbox Adaptive Controller work on PlayStation 4 or Nintendo Switch. I don't know why. Like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. And so I'm also going to talk about these peripherals as well from Warfighters Engaged. So this is an all-volunteer organization that builds free accessible controllers for veterans, and all the money from civilian peripheral sales goes to funding free accessible controllers for veterans. They make a whole bunch of variety of joysticks and buttons with mounting hardware options if that's something that you need. I only have one thing from them, which is their Joysticks L. This was $65. It worked well at first, but it just started drifting slightly after about a year. But that may not be because of them, maybe because I keep dropping it, because I am clumsy. The items are made to order, and the organization takes a break in the summer, so just something to keep in mind. But once again, $65 is a lot cheaper than $310. I talked about this peripheral last year, and I use it all the time. I use it for Slime Rancher. I'm not going to talk about it because there's no point, because the software doesn't exist anymore. It's really awful. So I bought this in 2021. For the purposes of playing Slime Rancher. And so luckily the software was still up then, so I put the software into the foot mouse, and like, okay, great. And then I'm like, oh, well, I need this thing for work after my surgery. And so my work's like, okay, yeah, just go get the software, put it on your work computer. It turned into a slot machine website. So just a heads up. I tried looking for the software. I could not find it. So this is something I wanted to.
Try Archive of Our Own or anything even?
I haven't. The Internet Archive. Yeah. I haven't looked on the Internet Archive. It may be there. That's a good place. I should look there.
You've got to run a file and host it then.
Oh yeah. The problem is that so my regular computer's Mac, and it doesn't really work well on Mac, so I didn't download it onto my Mac. I only just used it for the gaming. It is so that. But the other thing I wanted to bring up about this is a huge issue is that people make a great thing, and then it's either out of stock or it's not supported anymore, and there's more than 2 disabled people out there, so we need to talk about that. So I also wanted to talk about some likely unintentional accessibility kings. First are dance mats, and I'm sure you guys have seen people on Twitch play any game with a dance mat, people beating Dark Souls and stuff. I'm not that talented. But anything that's a D-pad, a game that you only need a D-pad and a few extra buttons, it's the only way that I can play games without any pain. So that's cool. And I also want to talk about arcade sticks and all-button arcade controllers. So here's an arcade stick. So you have a joystick here. By default, most of them are D-pads, but there's some out there where you can change it to a left stick or a right stick. And then you got all the buttons here on the front. And what I like about them is that even on my worst days, I can just slide my braces across the buttons, or I could just rest my brace on the top of the joystick. And and that's really helpful. Actually, this is the perfect Animal Crossing machine right here. I know that sounds weird, but because you can switch the you can switch the joysticks on this one. You usually can't. And then an all-button controller is a similar situation. So, you know, your regular buttons here, and then this is left, right, down, and up. And I've heard a lot of people say that while the joystick, you know, could make their wrists hurt, that this helps them with wrist pain. So we can thank the fighting game community for, you know, for making that happen. And I also want to talk about Nintendo Joy-Cons. So they have gyro aiming on them, like in Splatoon, and that is hugely helpful to me because if, you know, if I don't have to use a joystick, that's like a whole, like, less pain. And yeah, it still hurts me to use a regular controller, but having gyro aiming in a shooter game, and especially since we talked about how the joystick options are kind of like, for a lot of these accessibility equipment, like gyro aiming is the difference between whether I can play a game for 15 minutes or I can not play a game at all. And also too, back to, you know, another way it's accessible is they can be separated. So like if like this, like holding like your arms together like this is hard for you, then, you know, this can be a lot easier for some people. And another cool thing is I heard, you know, someone online say that they were able to play Zelda while holding their baby because of the Joy-Cons, so I thought that was sweet. And I also want to talk about some stuff for keyboard users. I mean, I'm not a PC gamer, but I hope this can be helpful for people because these are things that I use at work. This is a vertical mouse, so you've been seeing me use it throughout the presentation. It hurts for me to do this, like a regular mouse, so this is less pain. I just, you know, could just slide it. And I mean, the clicking and stuff still hurts my hands, but significantly less than a regular mouse would. And this is the ZSA Moonlander keyboard, which I would be using, but I forgot the adapter to make it work on my old computer. So it's Earthilinear and ergonomic. So the buttons are not staggered; they're like up and down, so that's less strain. They can be placed far away, like nice long cords, be placed far away from each other if that's something that you need. They can be propped up, which is easier for me because, you know, holding twisting my wrist this way hurts. And it's also very plug and play, and it does come with the adapter. I left it at work. Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to mention something. I use mouse a lot too.
Yeah.
I also didn't really like vertical mice. You can take an Apple Magic trackpad and just use a phone stand, like a tripod style, put it vertically. And that works really well because you can use all the gestures as well and just tap the click, so you don't have to do that claw motion that mice require as well.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, he was mentioning that you can get an Apple trackpad and have it vertically, so you can get all the motions of a trackpad. So it's a really good idea for anyone who needs it. Yeah.
I also find out that just having a cheap mechanic keyboard that like is a lot less painful than like laser keyboard because you don't have to press all the way.
Yeah. So having a mechanical keyboard can be a lot easier than having a laser keyboard, less strain. It was actually, that was my, like, before I went to this, that was the next step I did. It was like, okay, well, I probably shouldn't be using like these flat keyboards. I should use a mechanical keyboard. But so yeah, that's great. Thank you. And so I just wanted to also talk about something I haven't used myself because I'm a little bit afraid of VR, that it'll make me sick. But I saw this and I thought it was so cool. So this is Walk-in VR. This is for PC on Steam, and it uses a Kinect to allow users to play VR games without needing to hold a controller or stand. So if I get over my fear, I would absolutely love to try this, because I've always wanted to try Beat Saber. I just don't think I could hold the controllers. And this one also has Copilot Play with an Xbox controller, and the software is free to use for personal use. So that's the best price there. If you're using it like in a professional manner, like in a doctor's office or something like that, you do have to pay for it. But you know, we like the price of free for personal use. I like that price. So I'm not going to go over all of these. I'm just going to talk about the ones that you know, affect me personally, because I could, you know, give my perspective on them. But if you guys like have any questions about the other ones, you know, feel free to talk about them at the, you know, ask me about them at the end or after the presentation. So if we got any software designers in the room, I really love to see voice controls implemented in video games. That's how I use my phone and my computer. I talk to it. So let's see that for video games as well. I've heard that there is a mod for Stardew Valley in which you can use voice controls. So would love to see that on, you know, an official level. And I also want to add, having static elements on screen for open world games helps me a lot with motion sickness. So like Slime Rancher, because you got like the, you know, the inventory at the bottom there. I don't get sick playing Slime Rancher. I get so sick playing Pokemon Scarlet. So just putting that out there. And also having the option to slow down a game could be really helpful, because, you know, I mean, you guys saw my setups for my other games. Buttons are a lot farther apart when you're using an adaptive controller, and so it takes more time to get to the buttons. It's kind of like playing bongos. So I noticed that in the newest Star Wars game that they had that I've heard that they have an option to do that. So that's cool. I also want to talk about auto camera. We've already talked about how the joystick situation is a little bit funky for accessible controllers at the moment. So if I could just have one joystick, that would be great. And there's also a lot of people out there who that's, you know, what they're able to do. So if a game has auto camera, that's a huge help. And I know I was talking about Pokemon, but Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have fantastic auto camera. Like you'd think in an open world game it would be an issue, but it hasn't been, at least for me, so that's awesome. And I want to talk about, I've already talked about the gyro, but I also want to talk about motion controls too as an option. You know, I think a lot of us have seen like Wii's in nursing homes, because, you know, there's some people that's what they can do. They can do the gross motor movement and maybe not the fine motor movement. So motion controls, you know, open up a world of gaming to people who may not have been able to have it previously, but we want it to be an option because that's not available to everyone. So I was a little bit upset with the Nintendo Switch Sports that, you know, all this time and we haven't added a button option, you know, to this series. So, you know, maybe in the future. And also I'd like to see the removal of button mashing, or the optional removal of button mashing. Pressing the same button over and over again hurts. Also too, we talked about the button situation with the Logitech buttons, so just putting that out there. In Splatoon, I love automatic weapons because I just cannot do the slosher, it just hurts so much. And also simple control schemes. I mean, you saw all the work it takes to set up one of these controllers and find buttons for everything. And also too, lots of buttons might not be an option for everyone. So, you know, there's a lot of great games out there with simple control schemes, and I would love to see them, you know, implemented more often, or having an option to have a more simple control scheme. And I'll even add that Suica game, which I think was the most downloaded game in 2023, had a joystick. Well, you could use the D-pad or the joystick to, you know, move your little fruit left or right, and press A to drop it, and it was really, really popular and fun. So just pointing that out there. And then also having D-pad support in your games. You know, we've talked about the situation with the joysticks and also with arcade controllers. So having that D-pad option for people is really helpful. And believe it or not, Mario Kart 8, you can play with the D-pad. Actually, I use my arcade stick to play Mario Kart, so that's fun. So just some quick ways that the game industry can help. First and foremost, well, not foremost, though, the most important is at the bottom here. But don't block or ban third-party controllers. It is impossible for a game company to be able to make something that's going to work for everyone. So there's a lot of folks out there who are using, game controllers that they either built themselves or someone else has made for them to be accessible to them. So don't block them. I was really sad to see that Xbox was talking about that, like blocking third-party controllers. Don't. And also allow backwards compatibility for that same reason. If you found a setup that works for you, you want to be able to use that day one on the newest console, which I was able to do with my Xbox because they had compatibility with the Xbox One controllers, which includes my adaptive controller. So I was able to play my Xbox right away, and I wouldn't have been able to do that with a PlayStation 5. So, they lost a sale there. So, talking money here too. And also, like we talked about before, make affordable, accessible controllers and peripherals for all consoles and keep them stocked. We talked about this. And also having co-pilot gaming on all consoles. Nintendo, you have not done this yet, come on. And the other thing too is a lot of my accessible controllers don't have a minus button. And so I'm privileged in that I'm able to get up off the couch, go pick up my Switch, and press the minus button on the control pad every time I want to save Animal Crossing. Not everyone has that option. If you had a co-pilot option, you could, map a different controller's button to be a minus button, and then, people could play comfortably. And then the most important thing, hire gamers with disabilities. Yes, because, the more voices that are in on a project, the more people that, this game is going to be able to work for. And, no game has ever suffered from having a more diverse group of people working on it. So, yes. And just some, quick additional reading. Just some YouTubers here that offer, game hardware and software accessibility reviews. And there's also some great adaptive gaming tutorials on YouTube from these guys too. The My Mate Vents has a great ones on how to, make the Xbox adaptive controller work on other consoles. And then the final one on Twitter, he's this guy, Bryce Johnson, co-inventor of the Xbox adaptive controller, talks about which peripherals work on it. So that's cool. So yeah, with that, does anyone have any questions or want to share their own experiences? And we also have a mic if anyone would like to talk into the mic. The guy in the red shirt has the mic. Yeah.
I have a quick question. I mean, this might be not fully explored as much, but I know Makey makes easy controllers where you can adapt and use whatever you want as a controller from that. Has that ever been something, whether it's just the gaming or the community itself, has explored on to see if that could make more accessible things? I know they wouldn't be great for things outside of computers because currently it's the way that it's set up is only meant for up, down, left, right, an A and B button. But has something like that been explored where there was some kind of base chip to connect the right buttons you need, and then you choose whatever that was listening up to for it? Has that been?
See, I'm not sure because honestly, underneath the hood, I don't know what's going on here. I work in healthcare, but you can plug in the peripherals here. I think that's the closest thing, at least that I know of. But there may be something like that happening, like them coming up with a board like that. So it'd be cool too if that works on multiple consoles and that can be just a base. That'd be awesome. And yeah.
Quick question. I actually made a controller using teddy bear with Mickey because I had fibromyalgia and even button I have full body pain. A lot of it's really hard, and I had a controller just squeeze it and then
controller, it's a lot of technical skill you need to have to be able to use that. And I think that's why it doesn't catch up in the accessibility community as much as other controller, because you literally need to know hardware programming, you need to know the software programming, you also need to know how to make controllers.
I know, this is awesome. So they just shared that they made a controller teddy bear. So you just like squeeze parts of the teddy bear. You know, and it's a more complicated process, but that is so cool. You know, so I guess that's like what you were talking about, like the, you know, having like a base for it. So that's like one way to do it. Any other questions or comments? Person with the headphones. I think you're wearing a white shirt and white mask.
Yeah, I was wondering, so do you have like a recommended marketplace for buying, like, or is it just like buy first party controllers off?
Yeah. So someone shared earlier that they were able to find like the PlayStation Access controller at Best Buy and the adaptive controller at Best Buy. I just bought my adaptive controller off the Xbox website itself. In terms of finding peripherals, honestly, I look around online. Like the Warfighter Engage peripherals, they have their own website. The Hybrican Trooper I just got off of eBay. Like a lot of things I just get off of eBay, like this Wii Fight Stick, that was eBay. You know, unfortunately, you just kind of have to shop around. RAFnet, we made the adapter that I have here. They had their own website, so just a lot of Googling. So I'm sorry if that's not helpful. You know, I don't know like a specific like marketplace for everything. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I'm kind of like surprised a lot of games, including like Hi-Fi Rush and Street Fighter, you don't mention, because those are not usually the game people think about when they think about technical control, because it requires timing, it requires button smashing, it requires skills, like motor skill that for people with disability or without disability. And I'm kind of curious, is like, do you find it's like easier, harder to play these type of games with adaptive controller, or like having bigger button, is it easier or harder? And like how do you deal with, like from your experience or people with similar experience, how do you deal with the frustration of feeling like these type of games are not designed for people with chronic illness?
Oh yeah. So what they were mentioning is, you know, some of the games that I mentioned, like Street Fighter, Hi-Fi Rush, are a little bit faster paced, and that, you know, we usually don't think about those kind of games being more accessible. And you know, and just like, how do I feel about the, you know, the frustration of having like buying a game like this doesn't work. You know, it really, you know, unfortunately, just kind of just matters on like, you know, a person's, you know, disability experience. Like for some people, like Hi-Fi Rush, like may not even like be a thing that they could play. One that I found so hard, and even it had gyro gaming, was Pokemon Arceus. The like going out into the wild, sneaking around, like throwing the Pokeballs, like that was fine. But the parts where you had to throw those bombs at the boss Pokemon, I forgot exactly what they were called. You know, I love Avalugg. I think it's a wonderful Pokemon, but that level hurt my hand so bad because, you know, back to that joystick situation, you need to be able to aim. So I ended up like giving up just using the gyro, but you had to, like, it was so much of that repetitive movement. So it's frustrating, especially since like Pokemon, for the most part, is a pretty accessible game. So to have, you know, to be like, oh, wow, I can't wait to play the new Pokemon game. Oh, wait, this hurts. You know, that's why, like, I know people were a little bit sad when they kind of went back to more tradition with Pokemon Scarlet. But, like, for me personally, I'm like, yes, back to tradition. It's not going to hurt. So, you know, I hope that they can find a more accessible solution for the next, Pokemon Celebi. I don't know what they're going to do next. And I think I'll just do one more question. You, sir?
If this is the last question, if this is the last question, someone else can ask a question.
Okay, yeah, and you can just talk to me afterwards. I'm going to have my contact information too if anyone wants to message me. Yeah, any last questions? Okay, I think it's on you, man.
So I do run a software company. I do hire developers, and I would love to hire more developers with disabilities. And what can I do to provide like an organizational culture that is more welcoming and supportive? Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, no, and one, thank you for, for even thinking about that, like how can I be more inclusive? I think the most important things is, one, like just talking with the community, asking like, what they need from games, and, respecting if someone does need, accommodations at work. I understand it can be hard when, when you're not like the higher up, like ultimately the higher ups, make the decisions, but just just basic human respect, and, keeping that conversation going, like in, whatever board meetings that you may be in, like say, hey, I would like to, accessibility is the hot topic right now. You could even say that, it makes big press, when we have more accessible things, So I don't know. I don't know the work culture, where you work, but, basic human respect, and, just keeping the conversation going and talking with folks with disabilities. Yeah, please do.
Also have vocational rehab programs that
Yes.
disabilities.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'm sorry, vocational rehab programs.
Okay.
They're state run, and they will help people with disabilities get job placement.
Oh.
I don't know who your state board rehab is, and that's who they.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's a state run, every state has a vocational rehab. I don't think it's ADA compliant.
I work in a sill.
Or
To contribute to the.
yeah. If you don't mind, just because I want to be able to end on time for the next person, but definitely talk with me after, and keep this conversation going outside of this panel, because it is so important. And I just wanted to add for the recording, someone mentioned that there is the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation in each state. So, to talk with them about making a job place more accessible and finding employees with disabilities. So if you want to keep the conversation going, here's my social media. I'm sorry it's a cosplay page. I'm not a streamer or anything. But you don't have to talk to me about cosplay. Just you can talk to me about video games and accessibility. It's something I'm really passionate about. So yeah. And so yeah, thank you all. Thanks for coming to the panel. This was great discussion. Oh, yeah.